9 or 10 or whenever it is with, I believe, the Pan Am Museum.
Oh yeah, 12:30, I think. All right.
I don't know. I glanced at it.
Yeah, this is the second interaction of the day already, and it's 5:30 in the morning.
That's nuts.
And I can't believe Brian is still awake.
Yeah, was he?
Yeah, he was on the previous watch.
Yeah. Wow.
Poor thing. So we have a question about the seafloor. Is it soft? Could the plane have partially sunk into the mud when it hit the bottom?
No, I mean, it is. So what we have here is it's sediment, and then there's quite a bit of rock. There's lava flows. There's loose rock that's kind of fallen down slope. But no, the plane wouldn't have settled into the mud. I mean, even most shipwrecks don't settle too far into the mud. So we do expect that it would be resting on the seabed.
Big rock ahead.
Road work ahead. I sure hope it
I
does.
said big rock.
Yeah, it reminded me of that video. Ooh, bigger rock behind it.
Roger.
You could bring that back to the academy. Bio break.
Yeah, no, I think we have to stick with go to the head.
Oh, okay.
I can faintly hear their interaction.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
It's only when I turn off talk.
Are you listening to studio or guest?
I don't think
I
we
don't
can
have those.
have that on our
I only have
KVM.
operational tabby things to. I ran out of cool words
Yeah,
to
they
say.
don't give us as many
We don't want to give you too many buttons.
people.
Flicky switches?
Yeah.
Yeah. I only have operational flicky switches. I don't even have.
I'm more in the surveillance intelligence gathering unit over here.
Yeah, you gotta know what's going on everywhere. Yeah, we don't even have SCF.
We used to have educator. They took it off. So I guess we're not allowed to talk to Valeria directly.
Only over SPO. Yeah, I really think what it comes down to is there's not enough switches on here, like, to fit everything.
Yeah. I don't know why we have chart 1, 2, 3.
You do? I only have chart 1.
Yeah, I've got 3 charts. There's only.
We used to
Oh
feel
no,
like,
there are 3 boxes over there actually.
oh, maybe
There's-
that's new. I don't think we used to have that many over there.
So if you're watching and wondering what we're talking about the intercom system that allows us to talk to you and talk to each other and, yeah, communicate throughout the ship and back to the Inner Space Center in Rhode Island and feed into this live broadcast.
Yeah, so we only broadcast one channel, that's SPL, which stands for Science Party Line.
The science party line.
And then, I mean, usually we just talk to each other over SPL, but if someone's giving a description or something, sometimes we'll switch channels to talk directly so that we don't just run over their conversation.
Or if we need to say, hey, you're muted, or hey,
Oh, yeah.
your microphone's behind your head.
Yeah, there's the ability to force talk to people. So if you click the switch a certain way, no matter if they want to stop listening to you or not, you're just being forced through everyone's intercom system. So it's great. That's what I was accidentally doing to the bridge earlier.
Well, we have a question about how long would it take to map the whole ocean this way?
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah. It's a good thing we don't use side scan to map the whole ocean. It would be a time scale that humans would not be able to understand. Just years upon years, like absolutely insane. But thankfully, the way we map the seafloor, as we've explained before, with our multi-beam system, that can get a swath width of up to 8 kilometers under the ship at one time. And we will do that going upwards of 12 knots instead of 1. It's a lot less accurate, but it still provides pretty good coverage just for looking at bathymetric features on the seafloor. And it's not just us. There's a lot of ships across the world with multi-beam systems that are all mapping. So there's pretty good coverage, but the seafloor is vast, and there's a lot of gaps that every time we go out we try to fill. We try not to go the same way someone's gone before, so that we can get new data.
Thanks, yeah. I
Yeah,
can't
no.
imagine. And the reason we're using the side scan sonar
Is-
is because it gives us more detail and
Exactly.
resolution, helps in the specific
Yep.
expeditions when you're like trying to find.
Yeah, it would not be efficient to use side scan to map the seafloor. Typically, it's used in search of things. A lot of times, when you see those sonar pictures of shipwrecks on the seafloor, oftentimes those are side scan.
Yes, we keep having people signing up and following us now. More and more. Awesome. We have a question about if the plans were to use a fleet of IUVs to map the whole seafloor. Did you know about that? I was not aware.
I mean,
Using a fleet of AUVs,
AUVs,
I
yeah.
know it can be done.
it's very expensive.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of AUVs in all the oceans currently.
And AUVs can do this kind of mapping.
Yeah. So for just general mapping of the seafloor, it's definitely a strategy used. It would still take a very long time. They're not super fast, and they do cost a lot of money. So
They
it's,
need batteries to be changed though, like
yeah.
every maybe 8. Now it depends on the vehicle, but probably at least once a day for a lot of them. So that kind of restricts the actual feasibility of
Yeah, and
operations like that.
the self-contained ones that run for longer are way more money.
Yeah, I mean there are people working on like docking for, you know, autonomous charging and stuff, but
Yeah, but yeah, they also can be used for side scan. But the problem in this case is, one, we don't have one. And two, you run the risk of running it into any features down there that you didn't program it for, because it can only do what you program it to do, as opposed to real-time control that, like, we can see what's going on right now under Argus.
I think some of them have like autonomous obstacle avoidance, but
Yeah, that's pretty standard on most of them now. It's pretty reasonably intelligent
Undersea-
collision avoidance and stuff.
Undersea Roombas.
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah, a lot of the ones that are more affordable though cannot go this deep.
So our speed is 1 knot, more or less,
Yep.
Chris?
Usually
And
less.
So at 1 knot, we have covered, like, how much area in 3 days?
More than 3.4 square nautical miles.
3
Yeah, I think it
square.
was the total was like 3.8 for the frill box, and we've done 2 more lines or 3 more or something. So it's probably like over 4 square miles now.
Okay. So just to give you an idea, 'cause they're asking for numbers. So at 1 knot, we have covered 4 square kilometers, or miles, sorry, in 3 days. And the area of the ocean is, that would be a little more than 5 square kilometers. And the area of the ocean is 360 million square kilometers. So
Yeah.
just imagine.
I think it's more like 15 or 16 square kilometers, isn't it?
What's that?
If you actually, it's more like 15 or 16 square kilometers, isn't it?
What we have covered right now?
Yeah.
Well, let me double check that.
But yeah, either way, it would take a while. Yeah, Mike, I don't know if you were here for that. They asked how long it would take to do the whole seafloor like this. I said on a time scale that humans would not be able to.
Yeah, I don't think I would be alive still.
Yeah, no.
That's for sure.
So yeah, you're right. It's like 10.36 square kilometers. 4 square miles. You're right.
Cool.
Were you doing square miles or square nautical miles?
What was that?
Were you doing square miles or square nautical miles?
Just miles.
Because it's actually nautical miles.
Oh
And
yeah,
that
sorry, I
longer.
was.
So it's
I
it
was
it
giving
is
you a
more
number
like
of nautical
it's like
miles.
I think we've covered about 15 square kilometers.
Okay. So we have covered 15 square kilometers in 3 days,
Yeah.
and the area of the ocean is
I mean, no,
360
it's not, it
million
doesn't,
square
yeah,
kilometers.
it
Yeah.
doesn't change it that much. It
Yep.
just
Yeah. Just to be
That's
precise.
kind of-
Thank you.
well,
Yeah.
Same
I don't
thing.
know.
No?
So yeah, that will be a long, long time. So according to our followers' calculations, that would take 111,000 and more years.
First of all,
Oh, I think I
Cool.
might still be alive then.
If
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
have to turn.
Yeah. No, I'll be good.
it's 1112,000 years where I really just.
Yeah, then I'll definitely be gone by then.
Yeah. First of all, cool for calculating that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And secondly, yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I mean, but just think of all the amazing things we're going to see with the side scan on Argus in that 11,000 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to see,
Find a lot of airplanes.
yeah, every airplane. And
'Cause
every
we
rock.
won't be using airplanes anymore by then.
And every pelagic sea cucumber that exists.
That's what's important.
With the advancement of technology and the rate of change with that, I'm sure there'd be some system that could almost like instantaneously like go around and like map everything.
So you're saying we should just wait?
Oh yeah, totally wait. I mean, still continue what we're doing, but
Gotcha.
don't try to side scan the entire ocean.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not planning on it.
But there's still more than 80% of the ocean that hasn't even been multi-beamed.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's first step.
I certainly wouldn't start by side scanning it or putting an ROV down.
So, can echolocation of marine mammals affect the mapping?
Yes. We actually, a lot of times when the navigators are on their mapping watches, watching the multi-beam in the sub-bottom, there's not a lot going on, so you just kind of stare at the multi-beam. And if there's like a pod of dolphins or something around, you can actually see the interference as little like pings in it. So it's pretty cool.
Cool. Wendy, have you had to dodge any rock piles with the ROV?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, most of the rocks are well below where we are, but every once in a while we come up on like a steeper section and we have to come up. But we mostly have a good idea of roughly where they are from our high pack map. So
There was a good one on the first dive, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there was that good hill right in the middle of the line, but we had it charted. Thank you, Okeanos. You guys ever on these early watches and like sometimes you go back and watch the recording of the dive? I did that one time because I was trying to find something that I had seen on one of my watches, and of course you're like listening to it, right? And you're sitting there like listening to the conversation like, was I even there for that? Like you're hearing your own voice and you're like, I don't remember that. It was like 4:30 in the morning and you're like, no.
So now I know who's using all the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That's me.
You never used to be able to watch back the old, you know, like once it passed live, it was gone. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they have a recording on the ship, but you couldn't just go online and watch it. So
Yeah, that's new this year.
To my defense, I did technically do it in port. So I didn't feel like I was starving too many people of Wi-Fi.
Are you saying that it was important?
It was important.
Important?
I remember my first year I was down in the quad, and I had the 12 to 4 shift, and usually they brought up Hercules around 7 or 8. So to make sure I got all the sleep that I could, I would always check the live stream and then check to see how many meters Hercules had to go and calculate how much time I had and then set my alarm.
Nice. That's using your resources.
Didn't want to get up and like walk upstairs. It was too many stairs.
But you drained bandwidth to do so. You drained bandwidth to do so.
Yes, but only for a couple seconds.
Did you guys know that you actually can't run through a campsite? Because it's past tense.
Ha.
Camping is intense.
It is. Wow, that's a good shadow.
yeah, big rock.
We would have had to come up if we went over that one.
Yeah.
For sure. That's, oh yeah, you can see the little extension on high pack. That little bulbous area.
Yep.
So a good return on sonar.
Yep.
Come on, plane.
sea cucumber. Is that it?
Yep.
Yep. Oh, here it is. So what would happen if we have a fire on board and it is engaged in ROV operations? Tricky question.
A big fire where we would muster?
So we have procedures in place where the permanent crew has their stations, so they're the ones who are trained and would fight the fire. So they would take care of that. All crew of the science party not engaged in operations would go to the muster point for safety and accountability. And if ROVs were in the water, they would ensure proper safety procedures and allow certain members to stay in the van at that time. That being said, the muster point is right in front of the van, so you're basically already in the safest area of the ship. So we'd be able to keep the crew and the ROV safe at the same time while the permanent crew took care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Drawn a maze or something?
What are you doing?
I think he's making
What is that?
artwork. Oh no.
You guys ever stretch and you get to that point where all of a sudden your entire body seizes on you? Yeah. I just had that.
So, some question about waves. What are the
Waves?
biggest waves you guys have seen at sea?
Oh.
I bet I win this contest.
No, I'm
I'll
sure
win.
you do.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No, I'll spit some other ones out. You know where I live.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming around that area is awful. I haven't actually been in anything too large. I'd say 15 to 20 max.
I'm talking feet.
Feet. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I've probably just been in 10 foot, I
I
think.
think we
I
had
haven't
10
been
to
in
15 when I was up in the Bering Strait.
Yeah, I haven't been in those sorts of areas that have bigger things.
That was when things were all crashing around your
Yeah.
cabin.
I don't know what the swell size was, but last year on Nautilus we hit 27 degrees of tilt.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a good size.
Yeah.
Was that when the juice machine fell?
I don't think this
It's
was.
got to be close to the point of
I don't
no
think
return.
this was pre-juice machine. I mean,
Well, no, so they had a juice machine before, and it fell during a really big
no,
roll.
but the
Angle of repose of the juice machine.
I remember
And they just replaced it this year, I think, because
The
that one
coff-
had been broken.
the coffee table went sliding across the carpet in the lounge.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a big thing of sugar for coffee that just got tossed across the mess. There's sugar everywhere.
That's pretty funny.
In the whole studio where they do the interactions is just
Yeah.
destroyed.
Yeah. I'd give you at least 15 for that one. That's a total estimation. I have no idea. That's just a guesstimate.
Oh right, yeah. I've been out on a ship in 15-meter seas.
Oh,
That
15
Whoa.
meter?
meter.
Oh.
That was
Wow,
very
that's a
dangerous
lot.
and tragic. But that's not abnormal off the Grand Banks
Oh
off
my
Newfoundland
God.
either. And I've been on an oil rig that saw peak waves of 28 meters. And we get
Wow.
you get a storm like that like once every year or two.
Oh my God.
It's not really that uncommon.
that's incredible.
But a rig doesn't move around as much, but it's scarier.
Because the
Because
wave
it
comes all the
can.
way up.
Yeah, and it can. If something goes wrong, it's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Like a ship can maneuver.
Oh man, yeah.
But the anchor handler ships were out in that too. Like the standby vessels stay there. So that time I was out, it was almost 30-meter seas. There was a standby vessel going around out there. That mustn't have been very nice on there.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for some big seas, because once I like get out on a permanently stationed ship, a lot of times it's not uncommon, because every time there's a storm, we have to,
That's right. The Coast Guard's got to stay out.
we gotta go underway and actually, do our job.
Yeah.
So you get some good ones. The cruise, I mean, yeah, same for cruise in the Bering Strait. That's just typical to have huge seas.
That's what
And
they were saying. They were rescuing a lot of fishing boats out
yeah,
there.
there's always those fishing vessels, and those guys are really good at what they do. So you think about what it takes to put one of them in trouble.
You see
It's a
these
lot.
big, like, actually they're not huge, but they're almost square, like these anchor handlers.
Yeah.
They have, like, you use a lot of them home for industry work. They're really wide. They can put up with a lot of crazy sea states.
You're muted.
Sorry, I was muted. Have you ever seen or heard of any rogue waves hitting the oil rig when at sea?
Seen or heard of a what with the oil?
Rogue wave.
Rogue wave.
Oh, I'm seeing people blame things on rogue waves that didn't exist.
Dr. Ballard's first cruise in, I think either the late 60s or early 70s, in grad school, they got hit by a rogue wave, and he was on the bridge the whole time, loving it.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's, I believe, one video account that exists of a rogue wave hitting an oil platform. And it was because someone had installed a camera just to like look underneath for whatever reason. And during a really bad storm, they got hit by a rogue wave that they measured to, it was huge. I mean, you can look up the video. It's at one point just the camera just goes underwater.
Wow.
It is incredible.
Wow.
But yeah, I took a class that we call Waves and Tides. It's all about waves and tides.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fun fact,
Makes sense.
tides are waves.
Yeah.
We just called it that. Yeah, so we had a section on rogue waves, and it's really interesting because, like, when you first hear about it, you're like, okay, that's just like sea stories, that it was just someone wasn't paying attention, got hit by a big wave, and blamed it on like this crazy rogue wave. But it actually, yeah, they're real things that happen because the seas are chaotic and there's multiple wavelengths going on from different storms in different places, always headed in different directions. But when they line up, if there's a certain point when all of the highest peak of the wave, different waves happen at the same time, they'll add on top of each other and create these extremely large waves.
And in music, sound waves can do that too. Sometimes they
Yep.
can like harmonize at the right level and make another note because they're
That's-
all vibrating at the same.
Yeah.
So it's kind
Oh,
of like
wow.
So yeah, and so they can appear and disappear just as fast, just because just as fast as they come into phase, they'll go out of phase. So they'll hit a ship and just disappear into
that.
nothing.
They're certainly extremely uncommon.
Oh yeah.
they do
Yeah,
happen.
that's what our followers
the-
say.
They're-
Very low probability.
Yeah, but
Very low.
they're not a myth.
I met this French captain and his crew in the Galapagos Islands, and they had a beautiful catamaran. How do you pronounce that?
Catamaran?
Yeah,
Oh.
no, you got it.
Yeah,
Right.
you got it.
You got it?
Perfect. It was a very beautiful ship. So in the Galapagos, since we have a small population, we know our boats, and the ship was pretty distinctive. So people get together and like go talk to the new people in town. So we went talking to the captain and the crew, and I was asking them, what do you do when you have huge storms and stuff? Aren't you afraid? Like, don't you get scared of that? And the captain said something to me that really, like, I don't know, it has like followed me in several aspects of my life. He said, you know what, I decided not to be afraid, because every time I was scared, I would do something dumb. And when you are on a ship and you have a storm, there's nothing you can really do about it, but just use your best judgment, and that wouldn't happen if you were scared. So bad things will happen, either you are scared or not. But you would use your best judgment when you're not. So you can choose. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
It's easier to say than do, but it does make sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's one of those things, especially with nature being as powerful as it is. Every time you go out on the water, you gotta understand that there's an inherent risk there that you're taking.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get into a situation like that, you really just have to understand. You know, don't go out unprepared, but just kind of buckle down and do your best. Because freaking out definitely is not gonna
The best
do
bet.
anyone any favors.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the first step in a chain of errors is panic.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a situation like life-death situation?
That's a good question. I mean, there's plenty of times I've done things that I could have died.
No, but the real like moment where you're like, oh god,
this is it.
maybe this is it.
Yeah.
I've been in an abandoned ship situation, but it wasn't life-threatening.
How does that describe it?
Well, the ship was taking on water faster than it could be pumped out, and so we had to abandon ship, but another ship came over and assisted, so the ship didn't end up sinking, but it might have.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I feel like I remember a feeling of, oh, yeah, I remember what it was. Okay. It was when I was sailing on Eagle, the tall ship. We climbed the rigging, and so you're up 147.
I think I would always feel like I was about to die up there.
Yeah, you're up 147 feet, and you scoot out on the yard arms to tend to the sails, and it's our practical
Oh my
training.
God.
So it's the easiest way for us to get put into situations where you do have that feeling of risk. But a good while ago, they did start using safety harnesses.
That's
So
good.
you have two large metal clips, and each tether connecting you to the clips. can hold 300 pounds apiece. So for one person, you can hold 600 pounds. So there's really no risk of them breaking. The crew checks them all the time. So you really, the more you use it, the more you get to trust your harness and feel a lot more comfortable while you're up there. But we did have a good storm that kicked up, and when it was actually as we were coming into the St. Lawrence, so we were up towards Mike's neck of the woods, and all of a sudden winds kicked up, and we had all of our sails set, and it can't take the strain, like that'll heel the boat over too much. So we what we call douse or roll up the upper sails. So we send people up top. Me being one of the volunteers, climbed all the way up 147 feet and started pulling in the sails. And of course, by now the wind is taking the reins sideways. Everything's soaked. You're all the way out there on this yard arm. You're on this thin wire, basically, that you're standing on, just holding on while probably like 40 knot winds were flapping this huge heavy sail around, and you're trying to get a handle on it with everyone else who's up there. The ship was already heeled over because it's a sailing vessel, so we probably had about 12 or 15 degrees that we're going over, plus the rock of the ship in maybe 10 to 12 foot seas. So we're moving all over the place, and all of a sudden they bring the sails up, and you go to grab it, and it came up with the wind and smacked me, and my feet slipped right off of the foothold, and I just fell. And your initial instinct is not, oh, it's okay, I have my harness on. Your initial instinct is, I'm falling to my death now. I'm going to fall 147 feet and land on the deck in front of all of my classmates. So it didn't really hit me at the time. I was like, oh, that was scary, jumped back on, and we finished the job, went down and did the lower sets of sails. Everyone's just like, oh, are you okay? I was like, oh yeah, I'm fine, you know, my harness caught me. But we finally got back down to the deck. Your forearms are burning from trying to hold on and get a hold of everything. And the crew that was aloft, we all just kind of like got together and we just like laid down on the deck. Like we were so tired. And we went down to go get food. It was dinner time by that time. And I just kind of sat there, stared at my tray, and just kind of like thought about what happened. And that's when it like really hit, like what had happened. And I told someone, and they took my harness and basically like did a full check over of it to make sure it was still good, catching like the entire weight of someone. So yeah, that was definitely, I'd say that's the closest I've felt.
Whoa.
So, moral of the story: wear your safety gear.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%. It's there for a reason.
for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Changing subject, we have a question about what's our data backup process for sonar and other science data. Do we stream it to the satellite for onshore backup?
No, we have backups on the boat. So it's saved locally, and then once a day or twice a day, it's saved onto a server that's downstairs.
Cool. And it seems that we have better bandwidth right now, or people can hear us better. Is that because we're so close to the shore? Or not really?
That shouldn't make a difference.
Mm.
I mean, it could just be volume settings because Steven's such a good video engineer.
Of course.
He's shaking his head. Yep, that's it. Try not to swallow the mic.
Ooh, that's a cool jellyfish.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't fit in a bread box. Or it would fit.
It would fit. It's not bigger than.
I'm amazed that one's gone on this long. Like, I thought we were going to win in the first hour.
Oh, we haven't seen a single thing that's
Oh,
bigger
did
than
we
a bread
hit
box.
our
It's not
80
a
hours
rock.
yet?
17:24 exactly right now.
Wow.
Whoa,
Good
nice.
catch.
Good call, Wendy.
Cool.
So
80-hour dive.
80+ hour dives starting now.
Game. We have people commenting on your story, Chris.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was wild.
Oh yeah, I thought so too.
Did you stay in Quebec City when you went into St. Lawrence? Did you get off?
Yeah, yeah, we did. So I spent about 2 days there. Unfortunately, one of them was on duty, so I had to stay on the ship.
It's a great port. It's a cool
But
little-
yeah, it was
cool city.
fantastic. I was when we were pulling up. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an impenetrable fort city. And so the English just didn't really try very hard. I think they just starved them out. Sat out there and waited, I think.
Bummer. Yeah, no, I certainly got out of breath trying to climb up. I'd be really bad at invading places. Like, I'm winded.
Yep.
Let's call it, guys. So, who's laughing sounds like the wind.
What?
I think you're laughing sounds like wind.
You're laughing directly into the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Silently, but into the microphone.
He was just spying on someone on deck.
Oh, was that Sergey?
Maybe.
Yeah, he's bigger than a bread box.
Yeah, but
Wrong.
he's not an Argus.
We didn't say underwater.
But that's, I guess that's true. But I figured we meant on satellite feeds at least.
No, I think we meant underwater in the Argus camera.
Does Argus count?
We
You
can't see itself.
Argus.
We can see the
except
fin.
the utility
You
cans.
can see the fin.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, there's somebody on Argus.
Weird. Actually, a shadow did flash just as you said that.
Oh, it's getting light outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those tend to happen
Oh, it is.
in the morning.
No.
Wind's back to
It
like
is 6:25 a.m. So we should be able to see the sunrise now, right?
yeah, it's getting lighter out there.
Yeah, there's some clouds, but we'll see.
I keep
Yeah,
hoping to see
for-
like the green flash at night, but it's always cloudy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty close to land. Too.
Some people on Nautilus have said they've seen it. I've never seen it.
I saw
If-
it in Hawaii.
Yeah. So
If
it
you're-
exists.
It does exist.
Yeah, if you're out in the water long enough. I've been out on a boat when people have seen it, and I was just looking the other way.
I
did that the
never
other day.
remember to go up at the exact right moment. I'm like, oh, missed it again. Oh well.
Well, this isn't exactly the watch for us to catch it.
Also
I think
that.
I've seen 2 sunsets since I've been on board.
Yeah.
Past 4 weeks.
Yeah, I don't try very hard to see it, but I never have. But the other day I asked about it because they were all out looking at it, and they said I literally just missed it. But I also didn't really.
I heard someone say they didn't see like the
Sure.
green flash. They saw like a tint of green. And I was like, yeah.
Well, I think it's like people expect it to be more obvious and crazy than it actually
Oh
is.
yeah, people think like, you know, if
I
you
think the whole
watch Pirates of the
sky
Caribbean,
is gonna like flash green and like
yeah,
it's more just like a little like
it's dull, like a little
yeah.
tiny, like, yeah. But no, people think like in Pirates of the Caribbean they did that when they flipped a ship over and they're waiting for the green
Yeah.
flash, like it's when a soul passes from world to world. But in the movie it was a big green flash. It's never like that. Sometimes you need like a video to catch it.
Ed used to like when people were watching the sunset, trying to see it, like right as the sun was going down, he'd be like, "Hey, what's over there?" and get them to look away so they'd miss it.
That's so mean.
That's the kind of guy Ed is.
Did he tell you he was gonna wake you up yesterday again?
Yeah,
before
he's
you went on
joking
watch?
about that. Yeah. Come
Shaking
down at
you
like
awake. You're late for watch.
10 a.m. or something.
Get up.
So we have a question about how big the plane is. Well, right now it wouldn't be complete, right? The biggest piece would be the wing.
The wing was 118
18, yeah.
feet long. And that's about 40 meters, a little less than, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then it was, I want to say 60-something
It was
feet long.
yeah, I don't remember exactly. 60
65
something.
or so.
Yeah.
Feet long. So the wingspan was almost double the length.
And since we don't know how severe the explosion was, we don't know exactly the conditions, so we'll find it. How deep can the ROVs go? I know that Argus can go down deep up to like 6,000 meters, right? But right now we're at a
3250.
3,000 meters depth.
So at least this deep.
Yep, Argus can go 6. Right now we're
6,000.
limited by cable. I think we have over 4,000 meters.
And is it possible for the ROV to crash? Well, there's always a possibility, but we really hope our two very skilled pilots here don't let it
keep
happen.
us from crashing, Mike. Yeah, it's always a risk you run, but as long as everything is working the way it should, we try to keep them in a safe area.
Thanks for being with us and asking questions. We have a group of campers learning about exploration.
Oh, cool.
So that's super cool.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Do you think they were here for our camping jokes, or should we say them again?
May not be that kind of camp.
I did an interaction the other
Do
day
we
for
know
a
if we will
shipwreck camp.
find the
Cool.
plane? Well,
That's
we
pretty
hope
fun.
we find the plane.
You don't know,
We don't know.
because if we knew, we'd be there. But we're looking. It's only slightly harder than trying to find your phone.
How big is the Nautilus?
211 feet, 64 meters long. And then 10, I believe, or so meters wide.
Yep.
It is 6 inches longer than the ship that I got off before it. Really traded up. I mean,
It's got to be a lot harder to navigate that.
yeah, the extra 6 inches make it pretty
really,
difficult.
yeah.
It's very complex.
You got to make sure you start your turns early.
Yeah. Don't know if we'll get that clearance, you know. That sounded sarcastic. It was a big trade-up.
And
Oh,
for
I
our
was totally being sarcastic.
Yeah.
our followers can see in the quad how calm the sea is down here, and a little bit of the sunrise.
2 knots of wind. This is, at least looking at the camera, this is as close to I feel like what you call glass as the sea is gonna get.
There was one time I was in the Gulf of Mexico on the ship, and there was not any movement on the water. It was like
Yeah.
a mirror. It was the creepiest thing I've ever seen. You wouldn't think that it would be, but it's just so uneasy. It must be what the doldrums were like, because it's like there was a little bit of ripples when like a breeze would come by, but there was no movement on the water.
There
It was really weird.
There was like 1 or 2 days that I remember that, boating in Nantucket Sound, south of Cape Cod. And my dad and I would get up early in the morning, go out, try to get to the tip of Monomoy Island for some fishing by like sunrise when the fish are biting. And you get out there and you almost feel bad, like moving in your boat because you're messing it up. Like just absolutely pristine, flat calm.